Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. Now, I know I said I was not going to disappear on you guys again, but I'm sorry. I don't know why when I say these things, it just happens that I would always disappear again. I'm really sorry. This time, I'm genuinely sorry. How have you guys been? So, I was absent for reasons best believe that they were beyond my control. I wanted to. I struggled. I tried. In fact, I did record an episode. Recording is one thing, as I've told you guys before. Editing is quite the other thing. If you know anything about audio, and I know a little because I'm privileged to work with audio a lot, minus the fact that I listen to sound because I'm an audio person, hearing audio, sounds, music, concerts and stuff. But if you know anything about audio, and just audio editing in general, you will understand maybe from the standpoint of a podcaster like myself, you understand recording is the easy part. You see editing, you can spend over, and this is just me putting this out, I promise you can spend over 2 hours editing something not even up to 20 minutes, and it's crazy, really crazy, right? But yeah, here we are again, and thank you for sticking with me. I don't want to promise that I will not run away again. By God's grace, we are back. How are you? How are you guys doing? Now, I noticed that since I started seeing you guys leave me comments, you all have been leaving me comments, and I'm so deeply grateful. I am deeply grateful for the comments. Thank you. In fact, on one of the episodes, someone left a comment that made me rethink my stand on something. You see why I love when you leave comments? Please leave me comments. If you have an opposing view to anything I've said, please leave me comments. Because how then do I know that I'm not talking to myself and that I'm not building an echo chamber? Because I genuinely do not want to build an echo chamber on a lot of my beliefs. I want to be sure that my belief aligns with scripture and aligns with what is sensible, what is correct. Not just what is generally accepted, but what is actually correct, right? So sometimes there's a whole thing about you living in a bubble of your own and not knowing what's going out. So you can build your beliefs based on stuff like that and then come out and discover that what you built your belief on is wrong. That's why this place exists. So that if I say something that you have a contrasting view, please let me know. So thank you for the comments. I'm hoping to hear more comments from you because I need them. Thank you. How have you been? This is another episode. So last 2 weeks, something happened. Last 2 weeks. Right, I saw a few weeks earlier before that, I saw an item on someone. I liked it and I told the person, hey, how much? I like this. How much did you get it? The person told me there was a market price of about 3,500 or almost 4,500 thereabouts. And then there was the price she got hers. Hers was like 1,500. So the wide gap was like 3,000. So I said, can you get one for me? And she said, oh, it's fine. Give her the money. And after a while, after a few weeks, we finally saw and I got my item back. Then I was telling my friend later that evening after I got it, I told my friend, I was saying something. There's this new wave of, online marketers, online WhatsApp CEOs, as people like to tag them, right? Online businesses. And I'm like, it's beautiful, it's good because I feel like we are already at a point in the world, in age and in technology where things are now being done. Things are done first out of convenience before any other thing. So if you are doing things out of convenience, why shouldn't we be able to shop for things out of convenience, right? But I said, but there's this new thing where it's as though the people who have these online businesses, I think some of them do not understand what marketing is about. Hear me out. I genuinely think that they don't understand what marketing is about. And the reason I said so is this. The average Nigerian marketer or the average online marketer for some of these guys, with their approach to business, I think they think that business is majorly about profits. A friend of mine has been ranting for the last few weeks, almost back to back, on how vendors don't treat customers right. She's been complaining. And in my head, I'm like, that is an indication of what the problem is. I think people think that the main and only goal of a business is to get profits. But the thing is, profit only exists because there is either a void to be filled, so a good to be provided or a service to be rendered, generally because there's a void to be filled, because somebody wants something that they don't have and they are willing to pay for it. That's like the only reason why profit exists, right? So the main goal of the business should be that thing that makes profit exist. the reason why profit exists, not necessarily profit first. So a customer wants this, they can't get it. The main goal of the business should be, how can I get this thing to customers? But because as is with a lot of things, there are no orientations to these things, so everybody can just fly and come, and do how they like, and then no regulatory bodies and issue stuff. So I complained, and that. Now, telling my friend, the thing about profit is, if you make profits your major reason why you run a business, you will soon do one out of two things. One, you will not care and you will have poor customer service. Or two, you will do anything and then you will charge so much, because at the end of the day, if it's all about profit to you, you will want to make as much in as little time from whatever product. That now brings me to something that a lot of business people do not know about. Now, I know you're wondering where are we going with this business topic, but just follow me, just imagine with me. Now, there's something I found out recently that is called excessive profiting or unconscionable profit. Well, not recently. I had heard of the idea as of last year or 2 years before this year, unconscionable profit. But I heard of it as a Christian thing. As a Christian thing, it's called ungodly profiting. Now, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't even know that type of thing exists. Apparently, unconscionable profit is an ethical issue in business, right? It is a thing where a person doing business makes what is termed as too much profit for either a good or a particular service. Now, I didn't know that there was such a thing as making too much amount of profit. I just know that, maybe I didn't know it had a name, but I know that there is no way you can say that, there's no limit to how much profit you can make. But I didn't know it was a concept already existing. But I just found that it is a concept. And the thing about unconscionable profit is that for any particular type of service you are making or rendering, and any particular goods you are giving off, there is a certain amount within market standards or within industry standards that can be termed as profits that a person can make, so that you do not, out of your greed, then stretch your customers, steal from them, because basically that is what that thing will be if you bring it down to the lowest, right? But something that we did not talk about. So when I heard about ungodly profiting as of last year or 2 years ago, I heard it from, of course, a person I respect. And then she said it happened 2 years ago during COVID. Sorry, not COVID, during when the former president of Nigeria decided they were going to change Naira note, and people were selling money. So people were selling 15,000 for 20,000. POS agents were on the rise. They were living their best lives, POS agents were clubbing. A lot of people like to say that was a case of ungodly profiting. Now, it's ungodly because for a Christian, like I said, if you bring it down to the basics, it's stealing. It's advanced stealing, because there should be a certain amount that you should be comfortable with as charging, right? As profit. Profit will be how much you bought, your transport, you factor in all the necessary steps, actually what they cost, not times two, which is a thing that I think a lot of these business owners do not know. Because imagine me buying an item for 1,500 from a wholesaler, and I'm coming to buy the same item for a retailer by times 3 of the price. Now, I know that your transportation, your labor, all the other factors have been put in to consider so that you can make it off. But think about it. 1,500, 4,500. The gap is 3 times a product. So if I bought that product from the wholesaler at 20,000, you could have confidently sold it at 60,000, which, by the way, already happens, right? You see a lot of these things. If you have this, you see it. You see things that you can basically walk into a shop and get at a cheap price, and you see people post it online and you are wondering. And this is not just about online stuff. Some shops sell something at a certain price, others do not. There's no regulatory body, like I've said, but that is the thing. And it's interesting because for a Christian, you should not be found doing that. Like I said, it's called ungodly profit. Basically, it's when you profit from something in a way that does not please God and that does not help humanity, that does not consider the need or consider the resource of your neighbor. There's such a thing as that. It's not said a lot, but it exists. And then I'm thinking about it. That would mean that in a sane world, and this is just me, hear me out. I think that in a sane world, I think that in a world where all the right conditions, I genuinely think that the manufacturer of a product is the person who should make the highest amount of the product from the product. I mean, if it's your idea, why don't you benefit more from it? Why should the person who comes to buy after somebody else has bought from the manufacturer gets to make the highest amount of money? Now, I know that's not physical, and I'm not even trying to question. I know for a lot of business people, there's a reason why. I understand it, I believe it. But I just think that in the same world, I would have loved that idea that the person who makes the highest amount of something should be the person who made it in the same world. But then, there's nothing about this world that is normal. It's a broken world already. Broken world, and we are creating systems in a broken world, making broken systems in a broken world. Right? So, that won't ever work. But I'm considering the idea from the thought of a believer. I'm considering the idea from the standpoint of a believer, right? And I'm thinking about it. In the same world, the manufacturer should make the amount of profit, the biggest amount of profit. But, again, come on. We believers are in the same world. And I don't mean this world. I mean our relationship with God, our relationship with our neighbors is a same world. Because the rules that God gives us are rules that if you check them humanly and Godward speaking, they are very, very, very orderly, very reasonable, very practical. They are the right thing. That would mean that in the same world, God should get all the glory of everything. If profit, in physical terms, is how much you make when something has been done, that would mean that if God does something for us, dear believers, God should get the glory, not us. I say this because it's a very thin slope, and I make that mistake a lot. I still do, and I hope I'm not the only one where someone thanks me for doing something that genuinely I know I have no strength to be able to do, and I quickly tell them, you'll find it. Oh, it's fine. You're welcome. It's what we do. And then sometimes, on some occasions, I'm rebuked immediately to say, what we do. We don't have the strength to do this thing. How is it what we do? That's even little. There are also cases where you hear people say things like, oh, God is using us to make waves. We are making waves, or God is doing so much big things with us. And then you hear people say things like, I'm the miracle worker. It's a new thing that is popping up in circles, in little circles, and I'm starting to hear it. I'm the miracle worker. In fact, I heard a popular song remixed, and I did not like. And honestly, as is with a lot of things, now when I hear them, I just keep quiet because I do not agree. And the explanation that was used for it was that Jesus said, I will give you power, I will give you authority. And I'm like, it's interesting that somebody gave us a goods and service. We get the profit. We do not want to give it to the person who gave us the goods and service to render. If profit is a physical term, like we've said, for what has been made of somebody's idea, then the person who made the product should get the profits. God should get the glory. But when we start to change old songs and remix the songs and say that it is new revelations and put me instead of where God should be, me instead of where God should be, am I not collecting the glory like that? Is that not unconscionable profit? Is that not ungodly profiting? Because it's already a thing that humans like to adore who they can see. If I see two persons doing stuff and one of those persons is backed up by another person that I cannot see, I'll praise the person that I can see so much that I act like the person I cannot see did nothing. Right? We're already living in a broken world where people are looking for God. And rather than our lives, when they see things, miracles, signs and wonders, and the things that God does for us and does through us, I would think that it's a normal thing that when humans say, oh my God, you did so much. It's by your hand you healed this person. My brother was going and he laid hand on this person and healed them. I don't think that now suddenly gives you a right, or gives me a right to say I'm a miracle worker. The miracle was wrought by your hands. You are simply, in this case, the retailer. Why do you want to make more profits than the person whose idea it was? Dear Joe, why do I want to get more glory for something when it's not even mine originally? Why? If men tell me thank you, am I okay with that? Even after thank you, can I look back at the owner of the goods and say, it's your will. You are the one that gave it to me. They gave it to me so I can give it back to you. This is just a rough thought in my head. I hope it's a rough thought in your head as well. Until I come your way on the next one. It's Joe. Bye. Thank you.